The call came late at night while I was deployed in the Middle East. My daughter had reached out to me on Skype, her image flickering, her voice unsteady. The very first thing she said, without hesitation, was that I needed to come home. When I asked what was going on, her expression gave it away before she spoke. She looked worn out, like she'd been crying for hours. Then she told me it was about her mother, my wife, Kathy. She believed Kathy was involved with another man. That hit like a punch to the chest. Kathy and I had been married for 18 years. She'd always been warm, dependable, and loving, not just to me, but especially to our daughter, Stacy. The idea of her being unfaithful felt impossible. But Stacy went on to explain that Kathy had been going out more and more, several nights a week, often not returning until after midnight, sometimes nearly at dawn. That particular day, she hadn't come home until almost 7 in the morning. Stacy admitted she was frightened and confused, unsure of how to handle it all on her own. When I asked if she knew who the man was, she mentioned a name, Donald. I pressed her for a last name, and when she said Connolly, my stomach dropped. Donald Connolly was the mayor of our town, and Kathy had worked closely with him during his election campaign. At the time, I'd thought nothing of it. Now, all those late nights were starting to make a twisted kind of sense. Stacy said she'd only seen him once, but she remembered him clearly. Tall and lanky, with salt and pepper hair and expensive taste. According to her, he drove a high-end car and had even once arrived in a limousine to pick Kathy up. I wanted to believe there was a logical explanation, something innocent, professional, but it all sounded too personal. The secrecy, the erratic hours, the sudden distance, everything pointed to something more. Before we ended the call, Stacy begged me to come home before things spiraled any further. I told her I'd try and asked her not to bring any of this up with her mom. She agreed, and just before the call cut out, she told me she loved me. I told her the same. My name is Robert Crawford. I'm 42 years old. Back home, I work as a design engineer at a tech firm. I also serve as a major in the National Guard, which is why I was deployed overseas for a year. My wife, Kathy, is 40. Intelligent, energetic, stunning, even after all these years. We have a daughter, Stacy, who's 15 and the center of both our lives. Until that call, I believed our marriage was strong. We'd made it through multiple deployments. The distance had never broken us. If anything, it had strengthened our bond. I never thought I'd question her loyalty, but now everything felt uncertain. As soon as I could get approval for emergency leave, I packed my gear and got on the next available flight. 26 hours later, I was back in the States, behind the wheel of a rental car, heading toward a home that no longer felt like mine. It was Friday evening, just after 6:30. I parked half a block from our house. The lights were on inside. Through the upstairs window, I could see Kathy moving around, probably getting ready to go out. I called Stacy. "Daddy, I'm here. Don't say anything. I'm just down the street." "Oh, thank God," her voice cracked. "Is she going out tonight?" "Yeah, she's been in her room for a while, took a shower, now she's humming." "She sounds excited." "It's disgusting. I don't get it, Dad. Why would she do this to us?" "I don't know, honey, and maybe she doesn't either. We'll figure this out." "What are you going to do?" "Follow them. Get the full picture before I make a move." "Be careful. You want to change out of your uniform?" "No. I think the camouflage might make a statement when the time comes." "Good luck, Dad. I love you." "I love you too. Always." At 7 sharp, a sleek black Mercedes pulled into our driveway. A tall, well-dressed man stepped out. Had to be Connolly. He didn't go to the door. Instead, he made a quick call. Then the upstairs lights went off, and moments later, Kathy walked out. She looked incredible. Hair perfectly styled, dressed to impress, wearing a radiant smile. She locked the door behind her, glanced around to make sure Stacy wasn't looking, and then kissed him. Right there, in front of our house. Not just a friendly kiss, a real one. My heart sank. I managed to snap a photo. I tailed them at a distance. They drove across town to the Radisson. I parked a few spaces away and watched them go inside, arm in arm. I snapped another photo. They looked like a couple deeply in love, comfortable, intimate. Like this had been going on a while, and I had no idea who my wife really was anymore. I waited until they entered the hotel before pulling on my camouflage cap and sunglasses, then slipped in behind them. They'd vanished by the time I got inside, but I wasn't worried. I nodded at a few polite, "Thank you for your service" comments while scanning the event board. One listing stood out. St. James Hospital Charity Ball, 3rd floor. A live orchestra was already playing. I took the stairs, avoiding the elevator crowd. I needed the exercise after the long flights anyway. On the 3rd floor, I followed the music and passed the ballroom entrance casually. There they were, Kathy and the mayor, laughing, greeting guests, acting like a picture-perfect couple. She even looked right at me for a moment and didn't react. Of course she didn't. She thought I was still overseas. She wasn't wearing her wedding rings. I ducked into the men's room and sat in a stall trying to clear my head. I truly believed Kathy and I were solid. I trusted her completely. And while I was serving my country, she'd apparently been tearing our life apart. I couldn't understand how their friends could smile and celebrate with them. Did no one realize the mayor's date had a husband deployed overseas? I wiped my face, pushed the emotion down, and reminded myself, I wasn't here to fall apart. I was here to get the truth and deal with it. After about 30 minutes, I walked into the ballroom. No one stopped me. My uniform was a pass more powerful than a printed invitation. A young man at the door even saluted me. Too bad my wife and her date didn't show that kind of respect. I found them dancing to a slow song, her arms around his neck, his hands on her waist, her head rested on his chest. They looked intimate, familiar. I snapped a few photos, stomach twisting. Rage flared, but I held it back. Starting a scene would only get me arrested. What I needed was undeniable proof. After another dance, they headed to their table, kissing and touching like no one was watching. I took more photos. I left the ballroom and waited in the hallway. I'd learned patience in the military, and it served me well. 2 hours passed before guests started filtering out. Eventually, Kathy and the mayor exited, chatted for a minute, then walked to the elevators, choosing the one that went up, not down. That was unexpected. I was only 15 feet away, clearly out of place in my fatigues, sitting among tuxedos and gowns. But they were so wrapped up in each other they didn't even notice me. I watched as their elevator stopped on the 11th floor, then returned to the lobby without going higher. Back at the front desk, I approached a young clerk. I need to deliver a message to Mayor Connolly. It's urgent, I said, showing my military ID. Can you tell me which room he's in? She hesitated. I'm not really allowed. If this weren't important, I wouldn't be standing here in uniform. After a moment's pause, she relented. Room 1114. Thank you. I rode up, found the room, and listened. I heard quiet conversation, nothing more. Down the hall, I found the stairwell. I wedged my handkerchief in the door so it wouldn't lock behind me. From there, I had a clear view of 1114's door through the small window. It was midnight. Stacy told me Kathy sometimes didn't come home until 2 or 3 a.m., and once, not until 7. So I settled in. I'd wait, however long it took. My thoughts kept drifting to what was happening behind that door. The betrayal. The intimacy that used to be mine, now given to someone else. It twisted something deep inside me. But I stayed focused. There would be time for emotion later. Tonight, I needed truth and strategy. There's heartbreak. And then there's the kind of devastation that crushes everything you thought you could trust. That's where I was, standing in a hotel stairwell, drowning in the realization that the woman I loved more than anything was in a room just steps away, giving herself to another man. And not just emotionally, completely. Around 1:30 a.m., I stepped out and pressed my ear to their door. I heard faint sounds, then unmistakable ones. Her voice, loud, passionate, and intimate, saying things I'd heard only in our most private moments. It was like being punched in the chest. I returned to the stairwell, tears streaming down my face. At 2 o'clock, I walked back to wait outside their room. My phone was set to record. 15 minutes later, I heard the door unlatch. They stepped out together, her head resting against his shoulder, his arm wrapped around her. She looked refreshed, satisfied. He looked proud. I spoke. So how was it, Kathy? You two have a good time? She froze, gasped, and collapsed to her knees. Oh God, Bob, no, you weren't supposed to see this. Connolly took a moment to register who I was. Man, this isn't what it looks like, he stammered. She's just been helping with my campaign. Right, I said. Helping with your campaign by blowing up her marriage while her husband's deployed overseas. Real patriotic. He tried again. There was no love. Tell him, Kathy. Save it, I snapped. I saw the kisses, heard everything through the door. You've got her now. I hope it was worth destroying a family. They were both speechless, her sobbing, him standing there stunned. Don't bother coming home tonight, I said to Kathy. I'll be with our daughter. On Monday, I'll be filing for divorce and letting the media know what kind of mayor you really are. I've got 30 days leave, so stay gone until I'm back overseas. Then do whatever you want. Bob, please, she whispered. Please what? Don't tell Stacy. She already knows. She's the one who told me. I don't know why you did this, and maybe I never will. But now, all you've got is each other. I turned for the elevator. I'm sorry, Bob, she cried. Sorry I found out. Sorry it ruined your little fantasy world. Because from the second you walked out that door tonight, I saw everything. And you look seriously happy. So no, keep your apologies. Enjoy your life. Or don't. I'm done. I stepped into the elevator and left them standing there. Back home, Stacy was waiting, eyes red from crying. She ran into my arms the second I walked in. Daddy, I'm so glad you're here. I missed you so much. I missed you too, sweetheart. Did you find them? Mom and him? I did. And you were right. I don't think she'll be back anytime soon. I don't care, she said. She hasn't paid attention to me in months. Can I go with you when you leave? I wish you could come with me, but I have to head back to the Middle East in a few weeks. You need to stay here. I can't stay with her. I hate her. No, baby. No matter what she's done to me, she's still your mom. She doesn't love me, she whispered, clinging to me as she cried. Eventually, I got her to bed. Then I locked up the house, double-checking every door and even chaining them, just in case Kathy decided to come home. I couldn't be sure whether she and Connolly had ever used our home for their affair. I didn't want to know. Just to be safe, I slept on the couch that night, though even there, peace was nowhere to be found. Sleep came in broken waves, maybe 30 to 45 minutes at a time. My mind wouldn't let go of what came next, how I'd deal with Kathy when she returned to collect her things. Part of me thought about getting a hotel and letting her have the house. But the truth, I couldn't be that generous. She blew up our marriage. The least she could do was face the discomfort of staying away for the next month. Her new man could take care of her now. They were already acting like a couple. Let them live like one. Stacy and I both stayed in bed until noon, though we never really slept. I got up, made some coffee, then scrambled a few eggs and made toast. Stacy finally emerged from her room. We talked lightly over breakfast. Things felt normal for a moment, until the phone rang. We exchanged glances. She picked it up. Hi, yeah, he's here. No, I don't think he wants to talk to you. Why would he? A pause. Come on, Mom. You didn't make a single mistake. You had a full-blown affair while Dad was deployed. It's been going on for months. Another pause. Yeah, I told him I had to. You weren't even pretending to be a mom anymore. You were too busy with him. Then, a sharper tone. Why would I stop Dad from doing anything to the mayor? He deserves worse. Bye, Mom. She hung up and turned to me. She seems confused, like she doesn't get why we're upset, as if cheating on you while you were gone isn't a big deal. Oh, she'll understand soon enough, I said. And not just what she did to me, but what she did to you, too. The rest of the day passed quietly. I tried to stay focused on the present instead of imagining what Kathy and her boyfriend were doing. Stacy helped distract me, and we talked about where she'd stay once I returned overseas. I thought keeping her in her school, near her friends, would be best, but she was scared they'd turn on her if they found out what her mom had done. I assured her that real friends wouldn't abandon her, but she wasn't so sure. We agreed I'd ask my mother if Stacy could stay with her for the next few months until I got back. Late in the afternoon, the phone rang again. This time I answered, but the moment I heard Kathy's voice pleading to explain, I passed the phone to Stacy without a word. What, Mom? Her voice was cold, guarded. I listened as Kathy begged to speak with me. I told you, he doesn't want to talk. Pause. Explain what exactly? That you've been with the mayor for half a year while Dad was risking his life overseas. More silence. Yeah, it's exactly what we think. You walked away from your family. And for what? I hope it was worth it. Because you lost everything. Kathy was crying now. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, she sobbed. Well, you did, Stacy snapped. You shattered Dad and me. You threw away the people who loved you most for some fantasy fling. I hope one day you realize how selfish you've been. Kathy whispered, I love you both. Sure, Mom. If that's love, I'd hate to see what hate looks like. Now, do you need something, or can I go back to spending time with Dad? Kathy hesitated. I need some clothes and my pills. What pills? Stacy asked. My birth control. Oh, right. Can't have the mayor's love child ruining your new image, huh? She snapped. Fine, I'll let Dad know. We'll pack your stuff. Kathy asked for her makeup, too. Of course, Stacy said, voice dripping with sarcasm. A girl's got to stay pretty for her big-shot boyfriend. Everything will be on the curb by 6. Enjoy your night. She hung up, then burst into tears. I pulled her into a hug. You were hard on her. I know, she said through sobs. I'm not proud of it, but I had to say it. You've got every right to be angry, but we'll get through this together. While Stacy gathered Kathy's things, I headed to my office to think. I had a lot to handle, and years of military training taught me how to build a strategy under pressure. This wasn't war, but it sure felt like one. The basics were easy. Find a divorce lawyer, cancel our shared credit cards, open new accounts for me and Stacy, change my insurance and retirement beneficiaries, secure half our savings into a new account with only Stacy and me on it. This was going to be messy, but I wasn't going to let her chaos destroy what was left of our family. Some tasks were harder than others, but deciding how to deal with Mayor Connolly topped the list. He needed to be exposed for exactly what he was, a coward who preyed on a soldier's wife while that soldier was overseas. At 8 p.m., the phone rang. Crawford residence. Is this Robert Crawford? Asked an unfamiliar voice. That's right, Major Robert Crawford. Major, he said quickly. I'm Ray Swanson, city councilman and a friend of Mayor Connolly. I was hoping we could discuss the misunderstanding involving your wife and the mayor last night. Misunderstanding? Is that how you're spinning their little hotel hookup that went past 2 a.m.? Let's not get heated, Swanson said. It was just a private moment between two adults who may have had a few drinks and let things go too far. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out. Connolly's been sleeping with my wife while I've been deployed. I caught them myself. I understand this is difficult, but let's think about the bigger picture. The mayor is a public figure. This could create fallout for everyone. Everyone doesn't concern me. My only concern is my daughter. The rest of you can deal with your mess. I'm just trying to say, Major, that upsetting someone in the mayor's position might have consequences. Is that a threat, Ray? Not at all. I'd just hate to see anything bad happen to anyone. Let me make this clear. I've spent 6 months in combat. I faced people far more dangerous than some two-faced politician. If you think I'm scared of Connolly, you've picked the wrong guy. I'm just saying, he's got influence. And I've got something better, the support of every veteran in this state. We do not take kindly to men who exploit military families. So do yourself a favor and stay out of this, he hesitated, then said. What if there was a financial settlement, something substantial to ease the tension? There's no dollar amount that will fix this. The only acceptable outcome is Connolly publicly admitting the affair, apologizing, resigning, and fading into obscurity, preferably with my soon-to-be ex-wife by his side. You're serious. As serious as war, Ray. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got dinner to make for my daughter. I hung up. A few minutes later, Stacy walked in. I left Mom's stuff on the curb. A black Mercedes picked it up. Let's hope it was sent by Connolly. Otherwise, someone's about to score designer clothes for cheap, I said with a smirk. Though I'm not sure what Goodwill would do with her birth control pills, Stacy laughed. I couldn't pack her nightwear. Some of those lingerie pieces, I didn't even know she owned them. Just looking at them made me sick. You did good, kiddo. Thank you. She nodded. I'll talk to her when I'm ready, not before. The rest of the weekend passed quietly. We did laundry, tried to focus on normal things. Meanwhile, I kept working on my plan to bring the mayor down. On Monday, I called an old contact, John Foster, a reporter I trusted who had once served under me in the Guard. We met for coffee. What's going on, Major? I've got a story you'll want to hear. You know the Guard's been stationed over in the Middle East, right? He nodded. What you may not know is that, while we've been gone, Mayor Connolly has been carrying on an affair with one of our soldiers' wives. Whose wife? I'd rather not name him, unless absolutely necessary. No separation, no pending divorce. The husband just found out last week. I've seen the two of them around, John said, but I can't run a story on hearsay. Got anything concrete? I do. I handed over photos and video. I'd appreciate it if you blurred her face. Foster stiffened. He understood immediately. Bob, are you sure you want to go public? Once this hits the press, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. The truth needs to come out. I sighed and shook my head. I know how it'll look, John, but I had no clue. While Connolly was sleeping with my wife, I was 10,000 miles away getting shot at. The real disgrace is his. A man in power taking advantage of a soldier's wife. You know how low that is. Foster looked down, then nodded. You're right. I'll see what I can do. You're sure it's been going on the whole time? Yes, and others knew, but they've stayed quiet out of fear. Here's the proof. I sent him the photos and video. We talked for a few more minutes about the guys from our unit we'd lost during deployment, then shook hands and parted ways. My next step was legal. I looked up a few divorce attorneys and booked a meeting with one who came highly recommended. RJ Collins. To my surprise, RJ turned out to be Ravenna Joy, a blunt, sharp-witted woman in her 50s with a no-nonsense vibe. Major Crawford, she said as I sat down. What brings you in? I need a divorce, and it won't be a pretty one. She raised an eyebrow. None of them are. What makes yours worse? While I was serving in the Middle East, the town's mayor was having an affair with my wife. She froze. Connolly? I nodded. Her pen hit the desk. Well then, Major, you've got my attention. For the next 30 minutes, I laid everything out. She asked questions, took notes, and was especially focused on Stacy. She's 15, right? Is she your only child? Yes. And she doesn't want to live with her mother when I redeploy. She's old enough that the court will weigh her wishes. Can anyone else take her in? My mom, I'll ask her. She'd love to have Stacy stay for a few months. We discussed finances, logistics, and next steps. She urged me to speak with Kathy and see if there was any chance of reconciliation. There's not, I said. If you'd seen them together, you'd understand. I want the papers ready as soon as possible. A week passed. Kathy called 5 times trying to talk. Each time I told her I'd let her know when and where to meet. Then on Friday, Ravenna called. Everything was ready. I told her I'd invite Kathy to the house on Monday at 2 p.m. while Stacy was at school. She could be served then. I called Kathy. I'd like to meet Monday, 2 o'clock, at the house. She tried to start explaining right then, but I cut her off. Save it for when we talk. She showed up a few minutes early. We sat at the kitchen table. I was struck, painfully, by how beautiful she still looked. Maybe the affair had been good for her. Coffee? I asked. Just water. I know you want to explain. I'll give you that chance, but I need to tell you. Someone will be here soon to serve you divorce papers. Her face went pale. Bob, no. I don't want a divorce. And I didn't want a wife who cheated on me for half a year. Please, if you just hear me out, then talk. She took a breath. You know I worked on Donald's campaign. We spent time together at events, canvassing, meetings. We became friends. After you deployed, I was lonely and struggling. He listened, supported me. One day he invited me to a formal dinner and asked me to leave my wedding ring at home to avoid gossip. I didn't think much of it then. But that night, people saw me as single. When did the affair start? She looked at her hands. Not right away. We danced that night. He kissed me when he dropped me off. And you let him? I was lonely. He treated me like I mattered. He made me feel special while you were so far away. Special? While I was at war? I know, it was wrong. But I was hurting. We started going out more and slowly, I felt less alone. When did you sleep with him? She hesitated. You'd been gone a month. After a dinner, he invited me back to his place. And you went. I did. I felt sick afterward. I told him it was a mistake and that I couldn't see him again. That I loved my husband and couldn't believe what I'd done. But you didn't stop. She looked away. No, I didn't. Kathy lowered her eyes. Donald stopped calling for a few days. Then he reached out, said he missed me, wanted to see me. Just as friends, he promised. Said he felt awful and wouldn't cross that line again. But you met him anyway? She nodded. That weekend, he took me to a small party. Just a few couples, very influential. During the night, a woman asked how I managed to win over the town's most eligible bachelor. I panicked and said I was separated and headed for divorce. In a town this small, that lie spread fast. I felt cornered. Stacy was away at camp, so I stayed with Donald that weekend. And from there, it all spiraled. Yes, I'm so sorry, Bob. I never meant to hurt you or Stacy. It's the worst thing I've ever done. But it still happened. She nodded again. I know. Do you love him? I'm not sure. I like him. We laugh a lot. And the closeness? Was it better? It's different. Does he make you finish? Yes. More than I did? About the same. You've been with him since the hotel? Yes. And still sleeping with him? Yes. Are you planning to marry him? We've talked about it. Just then, the doorbell rang. I didn't have to look to know who it was. I think that's for you, Kathy. She opened the door and a man handed her a large envelope. Are you Kathy Crawford? She nodded. You've been served. She stood there for a long time, holding the envelope, staring out at nothing. Finally, she shut the door and turned, tears in her eyes. So this is it? We're really over? Yes, Kathy. You ended it the day you chose him. But I still love you. No, you loved the life we had, but you threw it away. Now you'll have to build a new one. And Stacy? She wants to live with my mom while I finish my deployment. Kathy broke down. God, what have I done? The next morning, the town woke up to a bombshell. Who was the married woman leaving a hotel room with Mayor Connolly splashed across the front page? Below the headline, a photo of Kathy and the mayor kissing outside room 1114. The article spelled it all out. The charity gala, the overnight hotel visit, and whispers of a 6-month affair that unfolded while the woman's husband was deployed in the Middle East. The publication justified running the story, pointing to public concern and the gravity of betraying someone serving their country. The fallout was immediate. The mayor's office called the story a lie, claiming the photo was fake and that enemies were trying to destroy him. He promised a press conference to clear the air, but the damage was already done. Too many people had seen them together. Their public displays hadn't gone unnoticed. One by one, supporters began to pull away. Anonymous tips flooded in confirming the affair. The public was outraged. That afternoon, Mayor Connolly faced the media, but no city council members stood with him. Half his staff didn't even show. Still, he stood at the podium and denied everything. Claimed they were just acquaintances. Claimed innocence. Then, out of nowhere, Kathy stepped through the crowd, walked straight to the mic and said clearly, "My name is Kathy Crawford. I'm the wife of Army Major Robert Crawford. And yes, I've been having an affair with Mayor Connolly for the last 6 months." Gasps. Connolly tried to shove her aside. "I don't know this woman. She's lying." Kathy turned to him. "Don't you dare lie. You pursued me knowing I was married, knowing my husband was deployed, and I was stupid enough to fall for it." She turned to the cameras. "I've humiliated the only man who's ever truly loved me. I am ashamed, and I will regret this for the rest of my life. I'm sorry, Bob. I love you." Then she walked away through the stunned crowd. Reporters swarmed the podium. Connolly panicked and stormed back into City Hall. I won't pretend the publicity didn't sting. Having the world find out what happened to my marriage wasn't easy. But I knew the risks when I gave the story to the paper, and now the truth was out. The day after the mayor resigned, the city council president announced that an interim committee would govern until new elections. I should have felt victorious, but all I felt was hollow. I missed my wife more than I ever thought possible. That afternoon, my friend at the paper called. Connolly had packed up and left town without a trace, and Kathy hadn't gone with him. I spent my remaining days of leave with Stacy. During my final week, I let Kathy return to the house while Stacy and I stayed with my mother. I enrolled her in school there and promised I'd be back to get her when my deployment ended. A week later, I stepped onto a plane bound for the Middle East, my chest heavy with silent anger.
Mom, pick up, please. Stacy, what's wrong? You sound terrified. It's Dad. Something happened. He's hurt. Bad. My world stopped. What? How do you know? What happened? The army called me. There was a roadside bomb. Dad's Humvee got hit. No, he's not dead, is he? They said he's critical. They'll update us in a few days. Days? Why didn't they call me? Because he changed his emergency contact, Mom. It's me now. Of course, I deserved that. Did they say anything else? They said he volunteered for every mission lately, even ones he didn't have to go on. Said he kept telling people he didn't have as much to lose. Do you think that's because of what I did? I don't know, Mom, but I wouldn't be shocked. He was angry when he left. I followed Donald after everything blew up, you know. Yeah, I heard. That's why I haven't called. I know I disappointed you. But after your father cut me out, Donald was the only one who forgave me. I just needed someone. That was your choice, Mum. You're the one who has to live with it. I've got to go. I'll call if I hear anything else. My name is Kathy Crawford. Up until recently, I was married to Major Robert Crawford. Legally, our divorce won't be finalised for another 3 months. But the truth is, our marriage ended the day he discovered I'd been involved with Mayor Donald Connolly while he was serving overseas in the Middle East. The story made headlines. Our small-town mayor caught leaving a hotel room at 2 a.m. with a married woman while her husband served overseas. The fallout was brutal. Connolly resigned, I was shamed, and my daughter stopped speaking to me. Donald left town briefly. A month later he forgave me and I followed him. We've been living together ever since. Do I love him? Maybe. But not the way I still love the man I betrayed. Donald and I have talked about marriage once my divorce is final. But Stacey made it clear. If I marry him, I lose her forever. Now, hearing about Bob's injury, I'm torn apart. I can't see him. I'm not even allowed updates. And I deserve it. Donald came home from work. He's an assistant manager at the local Denny's and found me crying. I told him what happened. His response? Good. Serves him right. I stared at him. Bob didn't ruin anything. We did. I was married. He was deployed. And we betrayed him. If you love him so much, why don't you go back? I would, if he'd take me. Why do you even care? You always say I'm better in bed than he ever was. I've never said that. You're confusing ego with fact. Bob made love to me. You just have closeness with me. There's a difference. His face twisted. You're just a hoe. I felt the slap in his words more than if he'd hit me. Maybe I am, I said quietly. Because instead of being with the man I loved and the daughter I lost, I'm here, living with a man who helped destroy everything. His fists clenched. I stood up. Don't you even think about it. The biggest mistake I ever made was believing your lies. I missed my husband terribly. Every single day I was terrified something might happen to him while he was deployed. And you, Donald, you kept saying you only wanted to help. And I let you. I buried my fear, my marriage, my child, and climbed into your bed like it was some kind of escape. I traded the life I loved for cheap comfort and fleeting pleasure. I stopped being a wife and mother and gave everything to a man who only wanted to use me. What a fool I've been, and yes, what a disgrace. Tears burned my cheeks as I grabbed my purse, stormed out of Donald's apartment, and drove off. Anywhere, just away. If I'd stayed one more minute, I don't know what I would have done.
I drifted in darkness, floating, disconnected. Voices echoed from somewhere far away, but I couldn't make out the words. Was I alive? Dead? My mind reached, but nothing made sense. Light, sudden and harsh, cut through the blackness. Noise, pain, then... Major Crawford, can you hear me? Can you open your eyes? A hand touched my arm, gentle, urging. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. Then slowly, my eyes opened. Blurry shapes formed into the kind face of a nurse. Welcome back, Major. You've been out for a while. Where am I? My voice was barely a whisper, my throat raw. You're at Landstuhl Military Hospital in Germany. You were wounded. My men? She paused. 2 injured. 1 didn't make it, Corporal Eddings. Tears slid down my face. How? Roadside bomb hit your Humvee. The doctor will explain more soon. You should rest. She adjusted my IV. The darkness returned, and I let it take me.
Mum, it's me. Stacey, have you heard about your dad? Where is he? Is he okay? He's in Germany. He's alive, but it's bad. I couldn't stop crying. Why him? Why Bob? He doesn't deserve this. I do. Donald does. Not him. Dad's always been the one to protect everyone. The officer who called said Dad was a hero. Even after the explosion, he pulled his men from the wreckage. While dragging the last one out, an RPG hit. He still got that soldier to safety before he passed out. I felt like I couldn't breathe. What happened to him, Stacey? Tell me. It's serious. He lost part of his right leg, some fingers, most of his ear, and his pelvis is shattered. They're stabilizing him before they fly him to a hospital here, but no one knows where yet. My head spun. I felt sick. I want to go to him. I need to see him. I don't think you should, Mum. He's done. He doesn't want anything to do with you. I don't care, Stacey, I yelled. I've ruined everything. My marriage, my family, my reputation, and for what? Nothing. I don't deserve a single thing anymore. But I still have to be there. What about Donald? Donald's gone. As far as I'm concerned, he no longer exists.
I was broken, physically and emotionally. My leg gone, my hand mangled, my pelvis shattered, my right ear and part of my scalp gone. If the blast had been angled a little differently, I'd have lost my eyes too. I was alive, but I didn't know if it mattered anymore. All I wanted was to see my daughter. And even after everything Kathy did to me, after the public humiliation, the betrayal, I still miss the woman I once loved. Not the one who cheated, but the one who had once promised to stand beside me. I could never forgive her, but I couldn't stop loving who she used to be. The days crawled by, each one filled with pain and silence. The doctors said I was stable enough to return to the States. They asked if I wanted to be sent to the nearest hospital to my hometown. No, I said, anywhere but there. They said my body would heal in time. I nodded. Maybe it would. But my heart, that was another matter entirely.
After I left Donald Connolly's apartment, I drove for hours with no direction, just the weight of everything I'd destroyed. I'd betrayed my husband, broken my family, and lost myself in the process. I hated Donald, but I hated myself more. I had no plan, no home. Just a purse, my phone, some cash, and the clothes I was wearing. That night, I checked into a cheap motel. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't be Bob's wife anymore, but I could still show up. I'd be whatever he needed, helper, nurse, anything. I had to try to make things right.
Back in the States, I was transferred to Bethesda Military Hospital. My days became a blur of surgeries, therapy, and pain. First, they reconstructed my pelvis, then my ear and scalp, and finally prepped what remained of my leg for a prosthetic. Time passed slowly. I woke from each surgery to unfamiliar faces, people trying to piece me back together. Then one night, I opened my eyes to something familiar, a warm hand in mine and my daughter's tearful face. "Hi, Dad," Stacy whispered. "How are you feeling?" "Better now that you're here," I croaked. She smiled through tears. "You look good. For a beat-up soldier who forgot to duck? You're still here, that's all that matters. When did you get in?" "Yesterday. They wouldn't let me see you until after surgery. Can you stay?" "I've got 2 weeks. I'm glad you're here. How's Grandma? School?" "She's good. Worried sick. I promised I'd call after I saw you. School. I looked at her, so grown up, and so much like her mother. "Have you heard from your mom?" "She's a mess, Dad. The reality of what she did finally hit her. I don't think she'll ever be the same." "That's sad. You still love her, don't you?" "I always will. You and your mom were everything to me. Even after everything, I remember how it used to be, how happy we were. If I hadn't gone to war, maybe none of this would have happened." "I don't think it was the war, Dad. I think Mom got caught up in something she didn't know how to stop. Connolly just kept pulling her in." "She went back to him, didn't she?" "No, she left him. She hates him now. She doesn't even say his name. She's changed, Dad. She's thin, doesn't smile, barely eats. All she talks about is you. How she'd give anything to feel your arms around her again. I honestly don't know if she wants to keep living." I didn't know what to say. I just nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Funny how fast life can unravel. "She wants to see you. She knows you can't be together, but she needs to see you." "I'm not sure that's a good idea. Not like this. I don't want anyone's pity." "There's no pity, Dad. You're a war hero. You're more of a man now than anyone I've ever known." "I'm not a hero." "Yes, you are. The officer who called told me everything. How you pulled your men out of the Humvee after the IED. How you kept going even after the RPG hit. One of them died, Stacy. But 2 lived. Because of you. That matters." She leaned her head on my shoulder and cried. "I thought I'd lost you," she whispered. I wrapped my bandaged hand around her and held her close. "You didn't lose me, sweetheart," I said. "I'm still here, and we're still together." Letter from Kathy. "Bob, you probably don't want to hear from me, and I can't blame you. But I had to try. To write this, if only to feel like I'm doing something to make up for the pain I caused you and Stacy. I heard about your injuries, and though I know I didn't cause the explosion, I still feel responsible. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'll never forgive myself. You were right about Connolly. He was exactly who you said he was. I see that now. Too late. With you, I was loved, protected, cherished. With him, I was reckless and blind, chasing a fantasy. I traded a life of meaning for a few empty moments. I hate myself for that. And for the record, he wasn't better. Not in any way. With him, it was just closeness. With you, it was love. Real, deep, soul-anchoring love. I can't believe I gave that up. I miss our late-night talks most. The way we used to put the world back together with words and laughter. Those were the best moments of my life. Bob, I need to see you. I won't ask for anything more. Not your love, not a second chance. Just a moment. just to sit near you in silence. Stacy told me you think you're not the man you once were. But you are, and more. I don't care about scars or limbs. You're still the greatest man I've ever known. She says you're a hero. I'm not surprised. That's who you are. And now I'm asking, begging, you to save one more life. Mine. Please let me see you, even once, so I can carry that memory with me forever. Whether it means anything or not, I've never stopped loving you. I never will. Kathy Bob's reply. You can come. Bob, Bethesda Military Hospital. Waking up after another surgery had become the norm. Drowsy, in pain, and a little sick to my stomach. This time, they'd done more work on my right leg to get it ready for a prosthetic. The doctors say that if my pelvis heals well and rehab doesn't break me, I might walk again. As I blinked away the haze, I noticed movement. Doctors, nurses, and a colonel I didn't recognize stood nearby. Behind them, 2 junior officers. And in the far corner, Stacy. My heart lifted. How are you feeling, Bob? The colonel asked. Groggy and thirsty? A nurse smiled. No water yet, but I'll get you ice chips. I looked toward my daughter. Stacy? She turned and came to me. Hey, Dad. Got a hug for your old man? Drop the old man talk, she teased, leaning in to kiss my cheek and wrap her arms gently around me. Her warmth filled me with strength I didn't know I still had. The colonel spoke up once more. You've caught some eyes, Major. There's talk of recognizing you with a commendation for what you did during your deployment in the Middle East. I'm no hero, sir. Just did what any soldier would have. I understand, but that's not how the Army sees it. There's overwhelming first-hand evidence of what you did. You risked your life to save your team. One of them didn't make it, I said, voice tightening. We know, but witnesses say you carried Corporal Eddings out of the Humvee, even after an RPG blast through both of you. That alone speaks volumes. Tears stung my eyes. I wasn't thinking of awards, just the young man I couldn't save. And the daughter I nearly left behind. But I was alive. And despite everything I'd lost, limbs, mobility, even a marriage, I still had her. And that mattered more than anything else. Though you didn't know it, the colonel continued, Corporal Eddings was already dying when you dragged him behind the wall. You were barely holding together. Your leg was nearly gone, your hand mangled, your scalp and ear torn off. When you finished, you passed out. The others thought you were dead. But I didn't die. No, Bob. Thankfully, 2 Humvees cleared the area in time. They got a tourniquet on your leg and rushed you to base. You barely made it. Stacy laid her head on my chest, her tears soaking through the gown. Somewhere else in the room, someone else was crying too. I don't know what to say, sir. You don't have to, but I'm here to let you know you're being awarded the Purple Heart, and likely something more, once you're on your feet again. Stacy whispered, "Oh, Daddy," and began to sob. Then I heard it. A voice I hadn't expected, hadn't wanted to hear. Oh, Bob. I turned and locked eyes with Kathy, sitting in the corner, my soon-to-be ex-wife. Her hand flew to her mouth, and she burst into tears, fleeing the room. The colonel cleared his throat. Until everything's official, we'd prefer to keep this quiet. I'm not worthy of any award, sir. You are, Bob. Take care of yourself. He left with the junior officers, and I turned to my daughter. She was here. She got here last night. Stayed quiet during your surgery. She ran out. She's falling apart, Dad. She knows what she did, and it's eating her up inside. I don't know if she'll ever be the same again. She wants to talk to me, but it won't change anything. She knows that. She just wants to say it to your face, then leave. Can you forgive her? I'm trying. I hate what she did, but she's still my mom. I want to fix something with her, even if it's just a little. I nodded. That's who you are, Stacy. I wouldn't expect less. She keeps saying she doesn't need me to forgive her, but she needs to confess. She probably does. She won't move on until she does. The nurse returned with ice chips and told me I needed rest. It had been an emotional morning. As she turned out the lights, I whispered to Stacy, "Find her. Try to help her. She needs to stop drowning in guilt." I will, but I don't know if she can. I must have slept for hours. When I woke up, the room was dark. Pain, anger, confusion, all crashing together. My heart raced. I was sweating, struggling to breathe. I reached for the call button and saw her. Kathy! She stood at the window, arms wrapped around herself. Is that you? Yes, Bob, she whispered. What are you doing? Just watching you sleep. Are you in pain? Should I get a nurse? My leg aches a little. I'll be right back. She returned with the nurse, who adjusted my meds and quietly left. Now it was just the two of us. First time in over 3 months. How are you, Kathy? I've been better. You? Worn out. A little broken. She tried to hold it together. Bob, I'm so sorry. I feel like this is all my fault. It's war. Crap happens, but yeah, maybe a little of it is on you. I heard her breath catch. I didn't come to upset you, she said. I just needed to see you. Just once. Why? To relive it all? No, to own it, to confess. I don't need your confession. I know what you did. But I need to say it. Then I'll go. Then come closer. I want to see who I'm talking to. She stepped forward slowly. You cut your hair. I did. I always liked it long. It smelled like lemons. Anyway, say what you need to. She paused, then spoke. I betrayed you, Bob, in every way a wife can betray her husband. It started small, just talking, lunch here, dinner there. It didn't feel wrong at first, but it got easier to ignore the guilt each time. I sinned the moment I danced with him, the moment I let him kiss me. But the night I went home with Donald, I knew exactly what I was doing, and the truth is, I wanted him to. God help me, I wanted him to. She stood there trembling, and for the first time in months, I realized she wasn't just broken, she was haunted. And somehow, even though the damage was done, I listened.
You'd only been gone a month, but it felt like a year. I missed everything about you, your touch, your warmth, and still, I gave in. I let Donald into my life, into my body. The first time I even guided him. I told myself it was just filling a void, that you weren't there, and he was. Afterward, I was so sick with guilt I threw up in his bathroom and told him I couldn't do it again. I meant it, but he waited a few days, called, and promised it would just be as friends. I said no, but I kept thinking about that night. He made me feel things. So when he called again, I said yes. We went to a party, but I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew I'd sleep with him again, and I did. Not just that, I let him have all of me. I told myself it didn't matter because you were so far away, and I deserved to feel something. I told myself you'd understand, that you'd want me to be happy while you were gone. I lied to myself. I let him treat me like his prize, paraded around like a fantasy. And somewhere along the way, I stopped being a mother, stopped being a wife. I even told people we were getting divorced. I betrayed you and our daughter with a smile on my face. Then you came home. You caught us leaving that hotel room. I saw your face, the pain, the disbelief, and I knew right then everything was lost. I tried to speak, but you were already gone. I threw up right there in the hallway. Donald drove me back to his place, and yes, I still let him touch me. I was too far gone. While you stayed with Stacy, trying to rebuild some kind of normal, I kept sinking deeper. I'd call you, desperate to talk, to fix what I'd broken, and then I'd end up in Donald's bed again. It was twisted and wrong. Then the news broke. Our affair became front-page scandal. When Donald tried to deny it, I stepped up and told the truth. I couldn't let him lie. That moment destroyed us both. After he resigned, Donald vanished. I became a pariah in our town. You let me collect a few things, clothes, birth control, makeup, but that was it. For weeks I hid in a dingy motel, crying, ashamed of everything I'd done. When you moved Stacy in with your mother and let me stay in the house, I thought things might get better. But the silence was unbearable. So when Donald finally called saying he forgave me and wanted me with him, I went. I rented out the house and left. For a while, we pretended everything was okay. We talked about getting married once the divorce was final. But Donald wasn't the same. He hated you for what had happened, blamed you for his fall. The only job he could find was assistant manager at a Denny's. His pride was shattered, and I was just something familiar to cling to. Then Stacy called to tell me you'd been injured. That's when everything hit me all over again. I realized I needed to see you, to say everything out loud, not to win you back, but to finally confess the truth, to take responsibility for every selfish, hurtful thing I'd done. Because even if we could never be together again, I had to say it. I needed to face you.
Kathy fell silent. She sank into the chair like she had nothing left. And looking at her, I saw not just the woman who betrayed me, but someone who destroyed herself in the process. Neither of us spoke for a long while. I lay still in my hospital bed, numb. Kathy sat nearby, quietly crying. "That's everything?" I finally asked. "There's one more thing," she whispered. "I read in the paper that Connolly was found in a pig pen, literally, covered in filth, broken leg, hand, ribs, and some more personal injuries. And I'm supposed to care? No, of course not. But there was something else. They found a sign on him." "A sign?" She nodded. "One word. Hooah." Even in the dark, she must have seen me smile. Brotherhood runs deep. "Well, Kathy, you said what you needed. Now it's my turn." I kept my tone steady, but I could feel the anger simmering. "I don't care what happened to him, but I believe you're sorry. For everything. You finally get how much damage you've done. To Stacy, to me, to yourself. And sure, if you could turn back time, I bet you would. But you can't. You know what's insane? I've been through the worst. I've seen war firsthand, watched men die, lost my leg and fingers, spilled blood for my country. But none of that compared to the pain of seeing you leave that hotel with him, smiling like he meant everything to you. That moment shattered something in me. Every night I close my eyes and see it, you and him, laughing, dancing, you whispering in his ear. That image haunts me more than any battlefield. But here's what's even crazier. I forgive you. I do. For all of it. I forgive you for betraying me, for lying, for going back to him. But I can't forget. And without trust, forgiveness can only go so far. You broke something I can't rebuild." "I'm so sorry, Bob," she sobbed. "Yeah," I said softly. "So am I." 3 years have passed. A lot's changed. I've endured endless hours of rehab, physical and mental, and now I get around with a cane. I'm back working in tech design in Houston. Stacy's 19 now. She's a cadet at West Point, proud and driven. She was by my side when I received a military honor I never felt I deserved. I think that's when she decided to serve. Kathy and I never got back together, and we never will. She and Connolly both paid their price. She lives in upstate New York now, alone but healing. We speak occasionally, always about Stacy. Stacy's working on forgiving her mother. It's not easy, but she says Kathy's still her mom, and she only has one. As for me, I've started dipping my toe back into the dating pool. There's a rehab tech, smart, sharp, hilarious. She teases me about my bionic leg and says my scar gives me character. I think she might actually like me. And for the first time in years, I think I'm ready to see where that might go. Maybe, just maybe, I can learn to trust again.